I'm a little bit mystic. You know that. I've tried to stop it, but it's a bit there. Isn't that strange? Yes, it's possible that I'm talking through my head, but not really. Not really, because it happened like that. I would have never thought that I would ever land in Australia. How did I land in Australia? At the right moment, when there was a serious situation, I slipped away 3 days or 4 or a week, whatever, before it happened.
Australia is on full alert for a coronavirus pandemic this morning after the Prime Minister activated the nation's emergency response plan.
And borders are closed. That's strange. And then I have a great artist saying to you, bring me luck. Why? Did I? I don't know. I didn't follow it up. I didn't say, why do you say that, Narciso? Where have you met the luck? Strange. So perhaps you understand a little more why I'm a bit mystic, because of things that happened to me. How could I be, as a 13-year-old, telling my parents in Cologne, we've got to get out, and they didn't know where to go. And I said, yeah, we must go to Joep. And it was the only place in Asbach, on the hill, where not one grenade hit us after 11 days of artillery fire from the Americans, and they demolished my dad used to say, how the bloody hell do we have to be on top of the hill? They can see us. But they demolished all the villages that were in the valleys. And they left us alone. And when we were taken over by the Americans, they shot one grenade from a tank into each house. Cheaply built. The grenades didn't explode. They went in front and came out the back. I'm telling you the truth. And I was in the street when it happened, and all I heard was a bit of machine gun fire. And we had about 10 or 12 German soldiers locked in a cellar so they wouldn't shoot back. And I was in the street when a gang came up, 2 of them, came down that sand road, and I was over here, and then they stopped. They saw me as a kid, but I walked towards them. I somehow didn't worry. And they said to me, Deutsch Soldat? And I said, yeah, come. And then came and got these 10 or 12 German guys. They were happy to go. An American prisoner of war was heaven. And they went with these 2 guys as prisoners. Strange things. That's how I met. These 2 were actually Belgian soldiers attached to the Americans. But I also met them proper American. They were bloody nice guys. That's where my impression of the ordinary American GI. He was just an ordinary, in most cases, decent guy. You had rogues there, that's normal. We're not talking about that. And at night we played for the Americans, my dad and I. They were there every second night. They had nothing to do. They were stopping while the big army went on. That's my introduction to the Americans. Now comes the next mystery. The war is finished now, and people from the East that had gone to the East because of the war in the West, they now came back by feet. That's where is that famous Cologne song. Ich möchte zu Fuß nach Cologne. Wenn ich so an mein Heimat denke und sind der Dom so viel schon. Der Dom ist der Cathedral.
Mas ist direkt op Heimann schwenken. Ich möchte so Fuß nach Cologne. Mas ist direkt op Heimann schwenken. Ich möchte so Fuß nach Cologne.
Cologne people by the thousands walking back to Cologne. Anyway, so there's drifting of people and deserters. And they had to be very careful, not anymore when they were in American zone. And the one particular chap started working for the farmer, a particular farmer. Anyway, I wanted that job because I knew if I work for the farm, I'll get food for me and my parents. And it happened. I got that job, and Victor, I worked like a farmer. I knew it. And my dad used to say, good op de al. That means I'm taking after my grandfather, Buss, that came from the farm in Westerwald. I just milking cows. I could do it there and then. And I milked every morning. That was my first job. You worked for about a good hour and a half. The job was to get the oxen in front of the cart, go to the field, strike clover, put that in, huge, back, and put that in front of the animals so they start eating and keeping calm. And that's when you milk. Once you've done the milking, you clean the stable. Do you have any idea how heavy that stuff is? You finish with the stable and now you have breakfast. My mother was once with me having breakfast there. She felt sick watching me. The mountains of food. And I was short and Scottish, very strong. Anyway, now what I'm coming to is this. I worked for them, the war is finished now, and my parents need to go back to Cologne to get our flat back. Which I told you, my grandfather had put stuff in there so people wouldn't move in. And I got every month, they used to go for a week. Every week got eggs, butter, flour. Eggs, I knew where the chickens had laid eggs that nobody knew where they were. Anyway, to come to the story, I suddenly had to go. And that was October. Just like that. And it was just the right moment for me to arrive in Cologne, being able to get into the woods and getting wood, planks, goatlaws, out of there, put them next door, because next door was burned out from the war. Put that in their yard, so we had wood to burn through the winter. On top of that, the most important was October is the month where the farmers dig up potatoes. They're ripe now. For me to go by train already going towards Belgium, onto a train to the next two villages, to go onto the farm where they had taken them out and ask the farmer, could we look for what is still left? And they left us. So I managed to get enough potatoes, so we got through that winter. And they started shipping coal, briquette, to Belgium. They've done that before, the war before. And we used to sneak there in at night, open these wagons and get the coal. I was just at the right time back in Cologne. Now what gave me that instinct? I must go. I didn't clearly think that. That came to me later. And being there now was lucky that I also now signed an agreement for a 3.5-year apprenticeship as a coach builder, which at that time was very valuable to have. Because the decree was from the military government, British, you either clean the streets or you go into your industries, whatever is left. And I had that. So I was off the street and at least doing something that helped me to get to South Africa. Now, if I hadn't gone back to Cologne at the right time, it could have been very different. Because the farm, now, this is the worst. After about, I believe it was 2 or 3 months, that whole family was dead, where I had worked for. There were an old man, old woman, and a young son who had actually bone cancer. Just put these things that happened in my life together and you begin to think, what's funny here? It's all accidental. It just happened.